15. I merely describe our salvation. You must design, politically win, and ever keep enforcing and improving our rescue. For 25 years, ever-mounting heat, rain deficits, and droughts only accelerate with skyrocketing CO2. Today, 3/4 of the United States is severely short of rainfall, as is every inhabited continent. 55 years ago, scientists foretold the desertification of our nation and world-feeding agrarian breadbasket, migrating north to Canada on whatever land they'd clear forests from that the world actually needs preserved for better CO2 control. American and world farms are vanishing today, not tomorrow. Formerly huge western reservoirs, Lakes Powell and Meade, are 3 years from emptying below any usage potential, due to the chronic, ever-worsening situation of giant land areas receiving under 1 inch of rain for months of winter and spring, and some years western mountain snowpack halting at 5% of normal. Stop most outdoor watering, urban Californians are told. Soon every vegetable farm and vineyard will be cut off of irrigation. Next, plunging tap water can always be replaced with bottled. I'm joking. Scarce and priced like fine wine, water will fast become the privilege, not to mention survival, of only the rich and well-armed. Throughout our fast-dying farmland, this spring of 2023, farmers drove their tractors onto land, filling the hot, hard-blowing winds with clouds of dust from baked, deep-cracked, rock-hard dirt. Why am I bothering to throw away my next crop seed on that? They mused. Last fall, hundreds of farmers took a last look at fields that somehow did yield enough hay for them to bale up. A fast look as they rushed wives and kids into cars to run from the giant fires, incinerating every last bale 3 minutes before roaring over their generational homestead. I don't need professional research expertise or controversial, dubious disaster theory to substantiate a word of my speeches. I just repeat hard, real news that you might rather hide from, just in case blissful ignorance could somehow make our self-engineered doom change its little mind and hide from you too, while you also ignore or refuse the only rescues that could avert total human, indeed life extinction, now upon us at blinding, that is, tragically unperceived speed. And your single answer, your total imperative, beginning your simple power to enact complexity? Act! Make judges and elect leaders to end gifts, bribes to politicians now. Enforce world demilitarization, now only fully abrogated treaty law. Make governments put every trillion into desalinization plants and continental irrigation, and spend much of our taxes also on CO2 scrubber factories and flooding river pipes for refilling most reservoirs, dooming billions the day they soon will empty. Demand government-funded and enforced regenerative farming, capable of fully reversing our atmosphere's CO2 spike, about to finish off the rainfall, keeping us all alive. None of this, including survival of your entire family, even 80-year-olds, happens without rapid worldwide adoption and enforcement of that border defenses only, swords into plowshares treaty. Itself impossible without tenet number 1, public campaign finance only, ensuring free and fair elections. Foundations either explode my or any survival imperative voice viral, or just pointlessly amuse your dying asses for less than the 2 shakes until irreversible, final, agonizing hell on earth. Most every family leader in world history saw and practiced love as defense of life, our only future. Now our only true leaders left are also you, and you. So pull your head out of the sand or wherever else it's stuck and fight for every family on earth just to save yours. I'm only Steve Race, stumbling to a gasping halt after my little warning and clarion call, my 100-meter sprint. I just slapped the baton into whose hand? Don't drop it, fool, or we're all dead. So what's my one word for you and everyone you love and want to live? Go! I have already described our nurturing of water, CO2 control, and agriculture in our world where the dogs of war, specifically dirty money and genocidal weapons, are finally starved and killed so that we can all eat, drink, be merry, and not hate and kill, but love and care for each other. Not during any Old Testament or other great religions all too passive witnessing of endless world military dictatorship and slaughter did anyone's God ever tell us that mine is the power to end war and enforce love. No, God is only almighty through human hearts, minds, ethics, and hands He designed for our potentially clever, good, permanent action for lawful, loving inspiration and rule of each other. Whoever told me to write and speak these old and new laws and actions is also shrieking at you to make, enforce, and effect them. Doomsday, fully caused by deadly technology corruptly sold to our government enemies, not lawful servants, is a very few years away from killing us all after far worse, horrendous, unnecessary suffering and heartbreak first. You must now hear our desperate, loving, saving God of humanity saying, "You, not I, shall pound thy swords into plowshares. Not by toothless entreaty, but with your laws and mine. Your time is right now or never. Pray all you like, but I'm helpless until you get cracking. Hear not any lordly, all-powerful command, but my prayer, my entreaty to my greatest creation with enough love and power to conquer all. You, saith the Lord." Amen. Ha ha! He laughs at his own Lord's Prayer. Get it? Much as I'd love to end your speech with a great belly laugh from God, more urgent history lessons to direct our agenda are needed. That 10,000-year patriarchy of power and conquest kleptocracies, also robbed by private war profiteers, was mostly monarchies that the crushed rebel had no power to oppose. Then French and American revolutions finally gave fighting, then peaceful mass citizenry some democratic opportunity. But then corrupt war and industrial leaders continued to buy government employees, and we mounted no full peace, human rights, and survival movements to actually build the laws of human civilization that were always needed. Exactly what you must do now in a flash, or life on earth almost certainly ends for my every listener, not just your children. Recently, Alexander Putin's invasion army in Ukraine suddenly revealed the bestial depths of genocide achievable by a dictator motivated by power and glory, only obtained by the deliberate, not collateral civilian slaughter of total war with his giant foreign attack arsenal of tanks, missiles, and artillery. In those hours, his inflicted death toll now promises to multiply as his army's encircling sieges of millions removes all heat in winter, temperatures below 20 degrees, cuts off all food and water, and for good measure he bombed or merely destroyed the services of 60 hospitals. Every day he declares humanitarian escape corridor ceasefires, then precisely bombs hell out of the fleeing women and kids before the first 60 minutes passes. Ha ha! I lied! Not any devil, but the total power we family fools gave them blackens military dictators' hearts. Civilian city sieges to overcome even prior military victories by desperate home defenders is more than a singular modern Ukrainian tragedy. It has been the ice-cold strategy of 10,000 years of warriors equipped by emperors with unlimited financial, military, national, and worldwide conquest power. Any great city can be yours without the loss of a single soldier. Just starve 95%, then stroll in and horsewhip the few survivors into burning or burying their dead. Now you face a single stark choice. Allow for just 5 or 10 years more this doomed world of governments designed only to pile our money and their weapons to keep the top dog 100th or 1,000th, and certainly single dictators in total, vicious, tyrannical power, until very soon your family's money, water, food, and peace are gone. Or instead, you fight for the only laws of peace, democracy, human rights, and survival conditions rescue that can save us. Hundreds of conquered nations became merely the emperor's vicious, enslaving party for centuries. This is the total military power that makes even good men evil. As William Fulbright said, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You must end such superpower. We have very few years to live if we just surrender, without our very best legal, political fight for our lives. In other speeches, I tell about Vladimir Putin's extermination of Mariupol, Ukraine, by bombing before he captured it, killing 50,000 by conservative estimate. Frontline wars, invaders versus national defenders, are usually horrific meat grinders of troops and nearby civilian habitations. The Ukrainian town of Avdiivka has cowered near mostly static Russian-Ukrainian forces' front lines for many years. During the last 2 years of intense new Russian attack and massive American-supplied Ukrainian defense, Zelensky's troops killed 20,000 Russians contending for this single little town, losing thousands of their own young men too. Then this winter, the U.S. Congress cut off war resupply until the Russians, flush with the first installment on 1 million North Korean artillery shells, took Avdiivka and advanced on other fronts. After thousands were bombed to death, the few hundred left are now Russian slaves. Avdiivka, like Gaza and Mariupol, is smashed beyond recovery. If America renews frontline defense supply, 80% Ukraine might last another year or two, but only until their entire army and mobilized replacements are all killed or maimed. Then long game Putin's remaining hundreds of thousands of conscripts and mercenaries will capture 100% of Ukraine while bombing to pieces hundreds more communities, killing another 500,000 innocents. My canceled doomsday speeches focus more on American oversupply, kicking Russian butt to spring Putin's every tactical and intercontinental nuclear bomb, ending the world. My doomsday warning comes with demanding your first intervention to limit Western offense, then full-court world disarmament press. The Saudi crown prince continues to savage starving Yemen with American bombs. I consider everyone building, supplying, and dropping them to be committing war crimes. But any could remind me that most well-defined laws of war against civilian slaughter are never enforced by any international court or organization. And no laws expressly prohibit one nation from buying other nations' bombs to batter one side of a third nation's civil war, especially for the universal motives of sheer aggression, ambition, and hate. Zero national defense involved. Israel's extermination of Gaza will accelerate along with American bomb resupply when re-election pressure forces the funds out of the U.S. House of Representatives. Why not another war on the increasingly revolting West Bank? All of Sudan dies or starves, while the biggest, most victorious national militia can do little to subdue dozens of other militias, each turning world weapons resupply into local tax theft enough to keep up their local murder of civilians, to keep grabbing their slice of dying Sudan's pie. What, you think World Murder Incorporated is just this crank's pissed off, insulting label? Who makes hell on earth legal? We all do. The power of every drug cartel in the world to ruin rich nations, 50 million addicts' lives until 26 years early death depends on their giant flow of machine war guns sold to them, usually by the same stupid country's death industries. Reminds me of the nasty cartoon of a man pointing a gun with the barrel and bullet chamber welded on backwards, aimed right back into his own stupid, drooling mouth. The doomsday I howl about is not just pending nuclear winter, but the single century already accomplished 300 million murders of mostly women and children. Not to mention the maiming and ruin of billions more. Past, present, and future, we all allow it. Why? Obviously, all corrupted leaders remain 100% money and ruling power motivated to boom their murder incorporated political cronies. But what about you and I, whose family love and future priority should 100% motivate us against war, every bestial and disgustingly legal method? But so far, 10,000 years far, we vaguely sympathize, a touch concerned, but really can't be bothered to lift our voices, or a single ink pen, email, or smarter than we are phone finger. Until I get a full slate of foundation to turn my fat mouth into organized worldwide communication, action, and legal butt kicking, I ain't done shit. And only when my 1% first step is left in the dust by your world peace law activism are you doing what you could for good in the hood.